went to Percy Julian, becoming a coach of comm school, I would say there was a lot of instability, and the students, they sensed that level of instability, and it created an atmosphere of chaos because there were rules weren't enforced consistently and across the board. So the students would identify times and areas where the rules wouldn't be enforced, and they would take advantage of it.
4 or 5 years ago, Secretary Duncan, who was then CEO of Chicago Public Schools, as well as our Chief Education Officer, realized that we had a number of schools, particularly high schools, that were really struggling and have been for some time. Initially, turnaround involved finding a great leader and putting them into a school. And then I think what the district found is that, first of all, there weren't enough people who could do that work in a sustainable way, as well as a scalable way.
It was really about having every single adult on the same page, enforcing the rules, being loving, but also knowing that when you walk into a building, this is a place of peace, and that is totally non-negotiable. When you walk into a classroom, every single student knows this is what is expected of me when I'm in that classroom. Given that, we knew that within the district, we didn't necessarily have the capacity to roll this out in a very consistent manner without bringing in outside help.
I remember talking a lot about social emotional learning and talking a lot about improving behavior and looking at discipline not as punitive but as an opportunity to teach students future social skills, and making sure that every single adult in that building was talking the same language when it came to behavior and giving students better social skills for the future. Out of that conversation, we began to look around and say, well, who's doing this work in a comprehensive way that fits with this philosophy? And that's where we came across Boys Town and the Well-Managed Schools program, because it had so many, it was an integrated whole, just like we wanted the school to be. So there was training for security guards, deans, there's training for teachers, there's protocols, sample process maps, a research base, and so we just really appreciated that the program was fitting with our goals for students.
Definitely. The do's and the don'ts of this is really simple. You need a strong leadership team that believes in this. Then you need to be able to find teachers, administrators, and staff to work as a team to begin the whole process of really doing professional development, as well as other opportunities, workshops, other opportunities to really get a core that's in the building that's going to be the actual go-to people. And then we have to hold each other accountable that we're going to do it, and that we're going to make sure that we raise our praise rates, that we focus in on praising our students as much as possible.
I think that it's necessary to train the teachers prior to the school year starting, and so that they could come to an agreement or a basic understanding of what the program is about.
I think it's important before Boys Town comes in to really do some key training with the leadership team members in your building, getting them to buy in. We actually provided our staff at Harper High School the opportunity to go out and visit the Boys Town campus, which is a huge seller, and not just the leadership team members. So we sent members of the security team out there, different classroom teachers, a member of the administration, really to go out and actually see it and see how effective it can be. We also supplied them with opportunities to visit other schools that were utilizing it. And I think that's important because sometimes people don't believe that, this can't really work in quote unquote like this school here. Maybe it works over there out in the suburbs, but it's not going to work here.
The kids initially, here we go with something new. What is this? But I think what it did for the students, and once they realized that Boys Town was actually a way for them to have a voice and a way for them to be heard, I think the students, from that point on, they took a liking to Boys Town.
I think bringing in new staff, that's what was needed, because a lot of people, they know what's going on here, but they don't know what's going on here. So they need to get a better insight, and for some new people to come and see and then turn it around, I think that was a good idea.
So all of these things connect so intimately with what I'm doing, what we're doing, we are doing around creating a culture and climate at Finger High School that's conducive to students being successful this world and being ready for the 21st century. One of our students, who was a really, really interesting student when we received him last year, has made a complete turnaround with supports and the love that our principal and others have given him. And he's utilized as our kind of advocate for our students in a way that when we have a conversation with the students, we would bring him in because he's known in the community and he's seen as someone that is highly respected. And he would come in and he would kind of back up what we said and how important it is to follow the directions that you're being told so that you don't end up getting in trouble like he was last year and years before.
I think initially the teachers were skeptical of the Boys Town model. They came into it with apprehension, thinking, hey, is this going to work with urban students? Is this really going to work with the demographics here that we have as far as economics go? But I think once the teachers started to see that the Boys Town model, number one, it was not going to go away. It was something that the administration was 100% on board with. They said, hey, let me give it a try. Let me give it a try. And upon implementing some of the Boys Town strategies and having those initial successes, that led to greater and greater participation and buy-in by the faculty and staff.
Now when you walk into Harper, which is in its third year, it's pretty much a part of the fabric of the school. And actually we used a lot of Harper people to train the people in our second high school and then in our third high school as well.
Teachers, the students, and the entire staff, they know that we have a common language and a common set of expectations. And if there's a breakdown, you can always rely on those core fundamentals that we have with the Boys Town skill.
Well, my freshman year, it was like you can do your work if you want to, but really just sign your name and you can leave. But this year is like, it ain't no do your work if you want to, you gon' do your work. You gotta make sure you getting up out of here now. I think it's changed for the good. I like it.
But I will say that when our deans sit and talk with our students, we can talk on more than a level of, okay, you have a suspension now. They can sit down and say, okay, what could you have done differently? And that's what's so important here.
Yeah, I think we had a really rough start at the beginning of last year. Through that rough start, we actually triumphed, and so I think it brought the student body and the teachers, just everyone closer together as a team. And you can see at the start of this year, it was just a totally different start. One of my students said earlier, just like the number of fights are down. Students are more willing to resolve conflict.
It's just, the sky is not even the limit. There's no limit to where students can go once they have these 16 skills. My hope for all of our students is that no matter where they go, no matter what position or job or career they get into, that they're able to take what they've learned from here and to code switch, as it's called, which is to be able to transfer this knowledge out of Finger High School and do it in their homes, do it in their churches, do it in their places of worship, do it on the street, to be able to one day be able to sit before the President of the United States and be able to tell the President of the United States that I learned these skills from my high school. And so that the leader of the country will be able to say, well, then we need to see how this can be transferred to all schools.
I hope that they just walk away with a sense of possibility for their own lives. I think that high school is a really short time. I think kids, they think it's forever. 4 years sounds like it's forever and a day, but it's really not. It's fast. It moves like within the blink of an eye. And so I would hope that being a part of the Finger High School community, the kids would leave here and they would really have a sense of all the possibility and promise that their lives really have. And they would be productive citizens, give back to the school, give back to their communities, and really just be the great people that they are.
I hope that our students have the freedom to do what they would like to do with their lives, that they are given the opportunities that other students of middle class upbringing or upper class upbringing are given, that they have the opportunity to decide to dream and to to be able to achieve those dreams by having both the social emotional skills and the intellectual skills to succeed.
It's been a long journey, but at the end of the day, I'm glad I went through it. I'm glad that I was here to see the change. I'm glad I didn't just transfer out because of the turnaround. I'm glad I was able to stay through and see, what was the difference and the pros and the cons of everything that was going on. So I'm glad I was able to stay and go through everything.